Answers with Dr. Reju is a platform where we take a more in-depth and intentional look into various life issues and bring clarification so we can navigate our way through with knowledge. Join us on Patrice Radio as we take this journey to discovery. Do remember to follow, like, and engage us on Instagram at Patrice_radio and also on YouTube via Patrice Radio Live. Thank you.
Thinking of where to go to? Be on board with Patrice Radio.
Good evening. Welcome to Answers with Dr. Reju, where critical life issues are clarified. My name is Joan, and I'm in the studio with Scotty. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you, Joan.
And of course, Dr. Reju, the Chief Resource Person of the Center for Transformational Leadership, CTLJOS. You're welcome to the studio, sir.
Thank you, Joan. Good to see you.
So, most times when we have a case of rape in the world, they usually advise that the victims of rape go through therapy.
Okay.
Now, do you think that is okay? Let me give an example with, let's say, a 12-year-old girl living in Jenta or a 12-year-old girl living in Tudunwada. Do you think or Rayfield? Yes. Do you think therapy is the best shot to help her or him handle the trauma of rape?
Yeah, therapy works, and that person will have gone through a bit of trauma, but the therapy has to be, I'm just using protests now, street protest as a form of therapy.
Okay.
That means this victim knows that someone, is thinking about me. Somebody is, seeing things from my perspective. So the therapy now has to be, many-sided. Because most time when people talk about therapy, you talk about somebody like a psychologist talking to you, trying to walk you through the thing and all that. But it has to be on many fronts. And I believe that the first level of that therapy is that person feeling safe. And when we also talk about therapy, we should also take into consideration our own cultural context. By virtue of the way we are wired, we overcome trauma much more quickly. But because of now globalization, all the windows of many cultures are now open to one another. And that therapy now has to also take that into consideration, because you are happy based on voices. You are traumatized based on voices, both within you and around you. So it depends on what I allow myself to hold on to. Therapy works, but most times, those who give the therapy maybe read a book written by an American, went to an American school. You don't know the history of this person. You don't know the way because the way the mind of this guy is even working. So it's so important that therapy is good, but what mode of therapy will work in this situation might not work in the other situation. So the therapy has to be all encompassing. It must be well informed. It must be contextualized. But therapy is the first stage, really, and that therapy starts from that person knowing that I need to talk about it. And people are looking for those they can trust to talk about it. And that's where the therapy starts from.
Okay, sir. So from what you said, we can see that, most times therapy has to do with the Western form of therapy when people talk about it here. And sometimes it's expensive for these people to afford. But you said something about home-based methods, right?
Yeah.
And I think we're losing that.
Yeah.
So how do you think we can actually build
that's a very good question, because it has to be, we have to see the need for it, and we have to be very intentional about it. Because sometimes, you see, like I used the analogy of this, we overblow the problem. Rape is horrible, just like any other kind of traumatic experience. that's why they say prevention is better than cure. So, but we are talking now within the context of when it has happened, right? So it's about, who does this person trust? Where does he feel safe? Where does she feel safe? Because most times, you see, especially when minors are raped, it's people who they trust that rapes them, that takes advantage of them. So what we had to understand is that, first of all, now the place of safety has become a place of threat. That has to be taken into consideration. For this person, the one who committed the offense he or she must see that this person is facing the repercussion. That can really be so helpful. It must be seen that this person is facing the repercussion, so that we know that this therapy has worked. By the time even the victim begins to feel a bit of pity, for the perpetrator. So that's really what we want, because the way we do legal system in Africa, we have lost it. The way we pursue justice in Africa, we have lost it. That's why I said, I think last week, that people say, courts are not courts of justice, they are courts of law. But you see, in the African culture, justice comes out of reconciliation, restoration. The only time I've had to get involved in a rape case, we got to a point where it was no longer this guy, because the first thing the guy tried to do was to work on my emotions, that he wants to talk to me. And I said, no, I won't talk to you. The only place I want to meet you is behind bars. So when we went to court and the guy was put in prison custody, that was when I made myself available to him. Because he had to start from when the guy knows that I've done something wrong. So that was when and it was from that point that we reached out to the victim, and she was willing to say, well, honestly, the pain here is that we're friends. We're friends. And the reality is, most times, these rape cases, most of it is not a gang of guys, I don't know. It's not a gang of guys getting one girl they've never seen on the street, right? Sometimes it's based on previous relationship. Yeah, on relationship. So it starts from that point where, when there is a rape issue, let's see two victims. That's where we can contextualize it. Let's see two victims. When we're looking at African culture, which is communal based, we need to see two victims. Why will a boy rape a girl? Why will a girl not, be taught to be able to sense a rapist from afar, from a sentence, from a reaction to some situations? These are the things, these are the issues that will help us, because prevention is better than cure. But like I said, we are talking now from the angle of the thing has been committed. But therapy works, but the therapy has to be contextualized.
Sir, you said something about being safe. And since therapy starts with the victim being safe, what is the role of parents in ensuring that a raped child feels safe?
They need to first of all put it in perspective that this is an event and it doesn't define you. It takes a lot of talking to. And it's not to start from, because of the way we do it in society, it brings, the way our cultural narrative works. Many times that's who we are, but that's not how we live life. And that's why we're confused. That's why, a group of Nigerians will campaign for George Floyd and they forget Rinji. Right? Yeah. It's just insane. So, you see, the way we look at life is called, for the African, Asian kind of mindset, it's called the powerful, powerless, possession, dispossessed. right? So that's the way. In the West is guilt, for here is shame. Now, when a Western person thinks is, I have done something wrong. When an African or an Asian thinks, he won't say, I've done something wrong. He will say, I am wrong. Right? So, and it goes further that if Joanne has done something wrong, because Dr. Reju has a relationship with Joanne, Dr. Reju too is wrong. Because Joanne brings, God forbid, shame to everyone that knows Joanne. That's the way we are. So that person, first of all, needs to know that we are in this together. Right? We have been raped. If it's the rapist, we all. I remember I had to go to a couple at the time for to counsel them, because this guy happens to be somebody who has a relationship with me. This guy hit the wife and called me. And when I got there, the first thing I did, I apologized to the wife on behalf of all men that we beat you up. If we have done what we are supposed to do, your husband shouldn't be beating you. It's failure for male gender. So in the same way, once she doesn't feel alone, right? Yeah. The weight is lightened. Once the rapist feel that we are all now perpetrators, he sees the weight of what is done. You've brought our reputation into disrepute, and then the weight is more because it's about fear and reward. That's the way it works. That's how discipline works. So for the perpetrator, he needs to know that, I've dragged everybody down, because bad conduct has social effect, has communal effect. Good conduct, the same. Somebody embezzles state money, everybody suffers. Yeah. That's right. There is no conduct that is private. So that person needs to know that we are in this together with you. We understand, right? What has happened to you is bad, but the bad, we must not stay too long there. Why it has happened? Yeah. It has happened. Why will a doctor be writing diagnosis? He's writing a diagnosis in a phrase, in a language that's already pointing at the cure. Yeah. The diagnosis must reveal the cure. So it's way forward, and we mustn't rush any. Why we want to say that something terrible has happened here? We want to do it because all the therapy has to be, part of the therapy should be go to the hospital, check yourself whether I've counseled someone before who was raped by armed robbers. Doesn't even know them. She was on the night bus, and they were attacked and she was raped. Right? She doesn't even know them. So the first thing that we did was go to the hospital and check yourself out. Because at this time, it was when HIV was running, was going berserk. And the first thing she wanted to find out is her HIV status. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So once that is, and that was the beginning. With the way we do it here, thank God this is not the case, and then we begin to work from there. It's and I don't, maybe I shouldn't go there, but let me say it. I don't like the situation where you say it is one that has been raped before and should now begin to counsel those who have been raped. No, we have to first of all ensure that this person been healed, because you can transfer pain, you can transfer guilt, you can transfer rejection. I don't like a situation where you have an association of victims. It doesn't work. Yeah. They just be licking their wounds there. So it's so important that we sort of from the home once, because that's where we find safety. The home, that girl, that boy must first of all see that welcoming hands. that boy must see, if it's the boy that raped the girl, that boy must see those frowning faces, not isolating him, but saying, we are in this, you've brought us into this pit together. That's where the safety comes.
I think this is actually very key for me, hearing this, that we're in this together. This will
we're in
really
this
help
together.
reduce the level of stigmatization that victims actually face. So much more on this, the issue of contextualizing the solution. Especially for the victims of rape. We have talked about therapy, and it seems as if it's a very huge thing in the African Nigerian context. We always feel we can't afford psychological therapy, which is actually needful. So what other methods can we say that should be done to help alleviate these pains, most more to the victims?
You know, there's something you said in your question that's giving me a bit of perspective. You know, because sometimes when we say therapy, we don't even know what we mean. What's therapy in Birom language? What's therapy in Yoruba language? What's therapy in Hausa? What's therapy in Igbo? So that we know exactly what we want to do. Because when you hear therapy, you look at the bill. Because there's one expert who has all the answers coming from somewhere. What exactly is therapy? You speak Hausa, right?
Yes, I do.
What would therapy be in Hausa?
Maybe
you see, you say
yeah, I was thinking about it.
You say you that means we are flying blind. We don't even know when we've succeeded. So let's first of all know exactly what we want to do when we talk about therapy. Because you see, there's a video a sister of mine sent to me yesterday of an American who was in Nigeria for about 17 years. I don't know, she's British, you know, white. He was in Nigeria for about 17 years, you know, learned African traditional religion, language, and everything, you know, and she taught in University of Ife for many years. The way this white woman speaks Yoruba, I speak Yoruba, I can't speak it that way.
Amazing.
Yeah, because the words she used are words that you hear maybe when you listen to a Yoruba newscast.
Conch words.
Yeah. You know, so, and she said something. The reason I brought that is that Africans they must not, you know, we've said that on this program. Don't lose your language. Once you've lost your language, you've lost your life. You know, because we can't be, we need to work on this copy and paste. We need to get away from this culture consuming practice. We need to go back to our own culture, rework it, repackage it, make it global. We are people. We had a life. That's why I'm saying, you know, when we talk about therapy now, we don't even have a picture. We don't even have a picture. Therapy is, you know, maybe you've seen those movies. Somebody is an alcoholic. He goes to a group of other alcoholics and say, okay, who wants to talk first? Okay, I'll go first. My name is Reju. I'm an alcoholic. And everybody will say, hello, Reju. You know, that might work in that context. Because they just talk. Talk is part of it. You know, because the first sign that there's a problem is withdrawal. When the person doesn't want to talk, you know. But where do we really talk? You see, stigmatization. You know, wars are always best fought and won when there's no war. Yeah. If this girl, this boy has acceptance, unconditional acceptance at home, it might never happen. But we're talking again. You know, we need to keep chipping that in. So once that particular place is a safe zone. I saw a series, When They See Us, you know, which is the true story of those boys that, do you know what they used to manipulate those boys? To lie. They promised that they will go back home. Those boys will do anything to go back home. Because home is the place of safety. They will do anything. They use that to manipulate the parents. You have your kid back home if they cooperate with us. So do we still have home?
Hey, key question.
Do we still have home? Is home still home, or is a hood? You know, you call it hood, right? Because a hood, honestly, in hood, most hoods, you don't live there with your parents. The mind is not HOOD. Hood is not a place that is for parents and children. Right? Hood really is a place of hiding. It's a place of hiding. You see, we need to marry, like that guy wrote. I forgot the name of the guy who wrote the article about honor and energy. Honor is, my generation. Energy is the millennia and the post-millennia. The two must come together. I saw the documentary of Quincy Jones. Maybe many of you guys might not have heard his name before. You've heard the name before? Quincy Jones is the best producer of music of all times. Wow. He's the one who made Michael Jackson. He's the one who made Brothers Johnson. He's the one, and this is a guy who is timeless. He had a session with these African American hip hop guys and told them, what you are doing is good. It reminds me of bebop, and I know about bebop. We danced to bebop. We rocked bebop in my days. And he said, but you're adding something to it that doesn't have anything to do with music. That's guns. Those guns, the lead that comes out of it is not just hot, it can kill. 2 weeks after Tupac was killed, after he had that meeting with them, 2 weeks after, Tupac was shot dead. Notorious B.I.G. What do you call? Yeah. They died, So there is a disconnect. We need to bring home back. Right? Hood must be home. Not a place where you hide. This is there, every other thing must come from there. Because when I hear rape, I'm not seeing perpetrator victim, I'm seeing two victims.
Okay. You said the family or parents are the first and most important institution to teach their children about sex education.
Absolutely.
But there's a probability that this child might not have a parent. Either maybe, let's say he's an orphan, or the parents are there but they are not really responsible. So how else can these children know what they need to know?
Parenting, let's look at it. It's not a biological word. Right? It's not a biological word. It's an agricultural word. Right? Culture is not a social word. It's an agricultural word. That's where you get something you groom. Right? Bridegroom has nothing to do with marriage. Is a groomer of a bride. That kind. So, if there was somebody I was talking about this racism in America, and I was giving them clues on how you need to walk through these sort of things and all that, and he said, I was really talking because I was talking about home, and I was talking with my brother yesterday, and he was saying that if we had our father with us, maybe things would have been different. I said, but what you are telling me now is maybe I should have told him, if we had our father with us, it would have been truly different, because we would have turned out worse. We would have picked his lifestyle of womanizing, lack of responsibility. So it's not just about having a male or female in the house. And he said that, I now see that though I didn't have a father, but I had father figures. And he mentioned what the mom used to do, that some Jehovah Witness guys who used to come to their house, who used to come and teach them lesson, teach them music, come and visit them in school. There is no time they are doing anything in school. These men are around. Those were the guys that shaped him. So it's not just a biological father. It's a father figure for the boy. It's not just a biological mother. It's a female role model for the girl. And also they can switch roles. Right? Because each child needs both. So it doesn't have to be the woman who went into labor. It doesn't have to be the man who passed the semen. That's not, It is not sperm that makes one a father. That's the point. So who will teach sex education? It's just where it is safe. It's where it is safe. So, but I said on a general, it must be in a home setting, not house. House is bricks. Home is a space of safety and trust, mutual. So it might be, that's why, you see, when I teach people in my own organization, I place a high premium on accountability and mentoring. The easiest way for me to delete a young person from my life is when that person doesn't know. I don't like giving instructions to people. I like people taking instructions from me, because they are two different things. I will only give my instruction to those who want to take it. Right? So what I always work on is I want to position myself in a place where I can earn this person's trust. So I will only put trust on offer. That person will. So it's mutual. I can't force somebody to trust me. So these are the kind of things. Who is that person that provides that kind of safety? That's the home. That's the parent. Honestly, it might be a college dean. It might be a school principal. But it has to be safe. It must be safe. Because we have a lot of, look at churches, look at mosques, look at all these kind of things, and we're looking for parents. Then those institutions have failed. Yeah. With all the father in the Lord kind of narratives, that is just some area boy-father relationship. Because it is those kind of places. But if the awareness is not there, it might be a grave digging venture where we are supposed to learn sex education becomes a place of sex abuse.
Okay. All right. We've come to the end of the program for today. We will see you next week for another exciting episode.
Thinking of where to go to? Be on board with Patrice Radio.
Hey, 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 hey!